So Season 2 of The Agency just ended, and if you watch that final scene play out, you are probably sitting there asking the same question everyone else is asking right now. Is Martian dead? Is he captured? And if he is captured, by whom? Exactly, and what do they actually know about him? The good news is that The Agency Season 2 wraps up most of what it set in motion. The bad news, or the great news, depending on your relationship with cliffhangers, is that the final moments of Episode 10 open a door that the show has absolutely no intention of closing before Season 3. And as of right now, Season 3 has not been officially confirmed. However, there is a way to get a very strong read on where this is all heading. We are going to get into all of it. Before we can talk about what Season 3 might look like, it is worth being precise about where Season 2 actually left each of its major threads, because the show was running 4 distinct storylines simultaneously, and they did not all land in the same place. The leak, the internal mole investigation that has been the slow-burning engine of the entire season, closes in Episode 9, not Episode 10. And the way it closes matters enormously for everything that follows. Martian kills Jim Richardson, the head of MI6. That sentence requires some unpacking. Richardson was the architect of the entire blackmail operation, pulling Martian's strings while feeding what Martian fed him directly to China. That final beat of China is the detail that breaks Martian's patience. He was willing to compromise CIA operations in service of what he believed was an MI6 arrangement. He was not willing to be an instrument of Chinese intelligence, whether he knew it or not. So he eliminates Richardson. The move simultaneously exposes him as the leak and partially explains him. The CIA now has a full picture of what Martian did. It also has a full picture of what Richardson was doing behind everyone's back. Martian is a traitor, technically. He is also the person who removed a far deeper traitor. That moral ambiguity is not accidental. The final scene, the last moments of Season 2, find Martian alive, but not free. He is in captivity. The framing is deliberate and cinematic in a way that immediately recalls Casino Royale, which is not an accident. The show knows exactly what it is doing with that visual language. His captors are not identified clearly, but they tell him something specific. They know who he is. Now, that line can mean 2 completely different things depending on who is saying it. Option 1. They know he is CIA. That frames this as a straightforward prisoner of war situation, complicated by the fact that Martian just went rogue, blew up a mercenary compound, and technically no longer has institutional cover from the agency that trained him. Option 2. They know something else. Something about what he did during Season 2. Something about his arrangement with Richardson. Something about his history that goes deeper than his official profile. The show leaves that deliberately open. And the question of which version is true will almost certainly be the engine that drives the first half of a potential Season 3. The cheat code nobody talks about. Here is where it gets genuinely fascinating and where the audience has an unusual advantage that most shows do not offer. The Agency is not an original creation. It is an American adaptation of Le Bureau de Legends. The Bureau, a French spy series that ran for 5 seasons between 2015 and 2020. The Butterworth brothers, Jez and John Henry, who created The Agency, are working from source material that already resolved every question the American version is now asking. The plotlines are not carbon copies between the 2 shows. Characters diverge, timelines shift, and the American version has made significant changes to how certain relationships and operations play out. But the structural skeleton, the bones of how this story moves, tracks closely enough to be genuinely useful. Here is the relevant part. Season 2 of The Bureau ended with its lead agent, Malotru. The character Martian is adapted from, in captivity. Not dead. Captured. Exactly the same place Season 2 of The Agency leaves Martian. And Season 3 of The Bureau opens with the operation to get him out. That is the blueprint. The Butterworths did not come up with this ending in isolation. They inherited it from a show that already figured out where it leads. Which means they almost certainly already know how Martian gets out, who is holding him, and what the extraction looks like. The cliffhanger is not a creative problem waiting to be solved. It is a storytelling door they already have the key to. If you are genuinely impatient, and we are not judging you, The Bureau is streamable with English subtitles. Season 3 will give you a version of the answer, with the caveat that The Agency will put its own fingerprints on every beat it borrows. The questions Season 3 inherits even without confirmation, We can map the terrain Season 3 would need to cover based purely on where Season 2 left its characters. Martian's situation is the obvious starting point. Getting him out of captivity wherever he is being held requires the CIA to make a decision about whether he is worth recovering. And that decision is genuinely complicated now. He burned the agency. He fed intelligence to what turned out to be a compromised MI6 operation with Chinese connections. He also killed the architect of that compromise and personally destroyed Valhalla. The ledger is not clean on either side. Does the CIA retrieve him because he is an asset worth saving? Does it retrieve him because leaving him in captivity creates too many exposure risks? Does it quietly decide he is more useful right where he is? All three of those options produce completely different stories. Then there is Samia. Her freedom is real. Her relationship with Martian is not resolved in any meaningful way. That thread does not just disappear. There is also the question of whether the Valhalla storyline deliberately left open the suggestion that the mercenary network was being operated by someone or something that the CIA has not yet identified. If that thread gets pulled in Season 3, the show escalates significantly in scope. Henry, freshly reinstated and essentially the moral center of the entire series, has a clear function going forward. And Gremlin, having survived Iran, presumably returns to operations under circumstances that will not be any simpler than the ones she just escaped. The Agency Season 2 ends in a place that is far more interesting than a clean resolution would have been. Martian is alive. Martian is compromised. Martian is in someone's custody, and neither he nor the audience fully knows what that means yet. The French source material gives us a probable direction. The Butterworth's track record gives us confidence they know where they are going. And the cliffhanger itself gives us a specific, answerable question to carry over to whenever Season 3 actually arrives. Whether that is in 12 months or 24, the show has done exactly what a good second season is supposed to do. It resolved enough to feel complete and opened enough to make you frustrated that you have to wait. That is the job. They did the job. Drop your Season 3 predictions in the comments, especially if you have watched The Bureau and want to weigh in on how closely you think the adaptation will track the original. Subscribe if you want the breakdown the moment Season 3 news drops. Thanks for watching.